Good evening, boys and girls.
Good evening. How are y'all doing out there?
It's Hump Day.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of the week.
So good to have y'all back. Have y'all had a good week? I hope so.
Yes.
Have you had a good week, Miss Helen?
I have.
Well, good. Hasn't it been pretty outside?
It has.
It's been really nice. I hope you guys have enjoyed that. Well, tonight, boys and girls, we're going to get right back to what, remember last week we had about the final play?
Yes, number 10.
Number
you remember
10.
what it was?
And we didn't get to show all our, we need to show that too.
Number 10.
Number 10.
Was the death of the firstborn child
That's
or
right.
person. Yes,
Yes.
firstborn.
And
firstborn
animals.
son and the animals.
Right. And
yes.
they had, God had the Israelites paint animal blood over their doorpost so that when that plague come through, what happened, Miss Helen?
They were safe.
They were safe.
No one died in that house.
But
in the
right.
Egyptians, they all had someone die
had
in their
someone
houses.
die. So the Israelite people, they finally got freed from being slaves in Egypt. And they were getting ready to go on a journey, weren't
Yes.
they? And it was at night, so they had to leave, but they had to go, and they were ready to go. They wanted to get out of there. And they tried to have things as best ready as they could, wouldn't they? They
That's
tried to
right.
be ready, but they had to take everything. And so, wouldn't that be, there was so many people, but think
Yes.
of all those people, and they're not in cars either, Miss Helen. They
No,
didn't have
they're not.
U-Hauls back then, did
Boys
they?
and girls, do you know the
How did
Bible
they-
says there was over 600,000
men. And that didn't
plus.
even count the women and children, did it?
No. Wow.
And they didn't have cars, so how did they have to carry and
They're
pack their
going to
things?
walk or ride their
And on
animals.
They'd have
yes.
packs on their animals and stuff, but they were getting ready to go on the journey. And I brought my little, this isn't a suitcase, but I brought my carry bag. And so when we go on a journey, boys and girls, we have to pack things. They had to pack things. We had different things probably, but I told you that I'd show you what was in my bag for Wednesday night. So y'all, sometimes when you go on trips, I know that you're going to have things that you want to take. Some of you might want to take a stuffed animal.
Your favorite animal.
Yep, some of you might want to take it.
Gotta have something to sleep
That's
with.
right. And, and Sawyer's going to like this because I brought one of his favorite books. And it's The Hungry Frog. And it looks like its eyeballs are sticking out. You guys might want to take a special book along. But you know what? You're going to have something to brush your teeth, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
Probably going to have that.
And don't forget the toothpaste.
Well, see, I've got such a big bag, I can't even find everything.
Oh.
Toothpaste and toothbrush, so you're going to have that. You're probably going to have some pajamas to sleep in, aren't you? If you go to Grandma and Grandpa's house, you might have to have that. Miss Karen's got some lotion always.
Oh, yes.
Always have that. And, might want to take a snack along, take some food.
Yes.
I threw me a banana.
You know, they carried remember we talked about them getting
That's
their
right.
bread bowls?
In their
and
bowls.
they carried them on their shoulders.
So when they packed their things, they'd have to probably have some clothes to wear, or they'd have to have some food with them. They would have to have something to eat, wouldn't they? Back then, they'd have to take a little something with them, probably.
Plus, they had all of the gold and silver that the Egyptians gave them.
That's right. So here's our gold and silver.
Yes.
Okay. So they had that, and so anyway, they're getting on their journey, and they had so many people and animals. Can you imagine? That would be.
What about Moses trying to lead all those people?
And by the way, speaking of Moses, let's bring Moses back. Moses, would you like to come back? Oh, look, we have a guest.
Yes.
We have a guest. Moses is with us again today.
And he's got his staff in his hand, his stick.
And remember, boys and girls, I'll pull this out. Remember our staff? Look at that. See? It looks about kind of like the one that he's holding right here.
Does, yes.
There's our staff, see? And so Moses, he went along, and he actually was leading the people out, wasn't he, Miss Helen?
But what was it they were supposed to do before they left?
Oh, well now, this was the Passover meal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
See, this was the Passover meal. And remember, boys and girls, it was the meat would have been, I said lamb, but it was sheep.
Sheep or goat.
Sheep or goat. And then our unleavened bread. Remember, that was bread that won't rise. It doesn't have anything in it to make it rise. And our bitter herbs. And this was what the Passover meal would have been. Remember? We're just going to set this down here. And so they were in a hurry. And so they were ready to gather. Because do you know, Miss Helen, how many years they had been there? 430 years they had been in Egypt. And do you remember, boys and girls, how it started? That Joseph, remember Joseph? We studied about him. And he was his father. He started out, we learned about he was his father's favorite son. But after a lot of hardship, he became second in command to Pharaoh. Remember that? And then the families grew, and their families grew and got bigger and had more families and more families. And pretty soon the Israelites were so many and mighty. Remember that?
I was thinking of that when we first started. There was only 75 came to Egypt when Jacob and his family.
Right.
And now there's over 600,000.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Wow.
And so there's so many. But they started out that way, and they ended up being slaves and being there all those years. And so that's how we kind of got to this point, and they get to leave finally. And God didn't forget them.
No,
He didn't forget them. He had a plan. Now, God wants the Israel people to remember how they got out of Egypt. And so He wanted them to remember, for the people to remember how they got out of Egypt. So Moses gave the people instructions on how to remember and what to do. And for 7 days, they were supposed to eat unleavened bread. For 7 days, they were supposed to eat unleavened bread. And did they have their meal? They would have had their they would have had their unleavened bread. But they had their Passover meal.
Yes.
But they were not to have it. They were supposed to have unleavened bread. No leaven was supposed to be anywhere in any of the land anywhere for 7 days.
When you make the bread like we eat sandwiches today, it has yeast in it and it makes it rise.
Yeah.
And grow.
Yeah.
But unleavened, it didn't have that. Did it?
This would be like pie crust. So this would be like if you ate something like the crust on a pie. But they couldn't, for 7 days, they could not have any leaven anywhere around. And they did this, they were to do this every year to remember God bringing them out of Egypt, weren't they?
It was a memorial.
It was. So the Passover meal was this. It was the meat and the unleavened bread and the bitter herbs. And they would remember that. And boys and girls, they did that to remember. But what's some things that we can remember today? Like we remember birthdays.
Yes.
And that helps us remember when we were born.
That's right.
Or 4th of July, we shoot off fireworks. That helps us remember about our country and how it started.
And how much freedom we have.
Exactly. So we do things that help us remember. But that's kind of what they did year after year to help remember all the things that the Lord had done for them. That helped them remember all the things. And then we're commanded today, aren't we?
Yes.
And to remember Jesus, God's only Son, how He died and was buried and rose again. And He gave the apostles instructions, didn't He? Just like He did Moses on how it was to be done. So what do we do, Miss Helen, on the first day of the week?
We partake of the communion.
That's
Christians come together and partake of the communion, the bread and the juice.
That's right.
The fruit of the vine.
So we remember too.
And we remember that Christ died for us.
That's right.
And the Israelites remember how God took them out of slavery.
That's right.
And out of Egypt.
That's right.
Well, Miss Karen, how was it? Did they have a road map to get where they were going?
No, they didn't.
No. How did they know where to go?
Well, God's still in control, isn't He? Is God still helping them?
He is.
He is. And you know what, boys and girls? The Bible tells us that when Pharaoh let the people go, that God did not lead them by the way. He didn't take them by the way of the Philistines, but he took them another way.
He didn't take them the easy route, did he?
He took them toward the Red Sea, and we're going to be learning more about that next week. But like I said, he didn't have a road map. So, boys and girls, if they didn't have a road map, how did they know where to go? How do you think? Well, by daytime, look, by daytime, what did God do? God, the Lord, he went before them in the daytime in a pillar of cloud to lead them along the way. Look at that.
Wow.
But, I'm sure I can, let's see here. But in the nighttime, the faith, let's see here.
It went out.
Okay. Oh boy. And boys and girls, at night, look at this. At nighttime, God, he provided a cloud of what?
Fire.
A cloud of fire, didn't he? He provided a cloud of fire.
So they could see.
That's right. So to give them light that they may travel by day and night. Look at that. So can you all, it's dark in here, but see, you can see that flame, that fire. But only they would have had a really big one, wouldn't they? They could see a flame to help them by nighttime, wouldn't it? Isn't that neat? Can you see the fire on the front?
It would have to have been big because there was a lot of people.
There
was
a lot bigger than this, but this will give you an idea, wouldn't it, boys and girls? So
they knew that God was there.
That's right.
He was always there with them.
That's right. It may be one of those trick candles that doesn't want to blow out. So God led them. He helped them by day and he helped them by night. And the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire did not depart from before the people. So it means that it stayed there, didn't it? It helped them along. It helped them through the day, and it helped them at night.
Yes.
And it stayed before them, so they knew where to go. They could follow that, couldn't they?
He was their leader.
He was their leader. That is
and
right.
Moses was appointed. Him and Aaron was the leaders on the ground.
That's right. That's right. And so if you had something like that before you, why, that would help you see, wouldn't it? That would help you kind of know where to go.
Right.
So God always provided them a way, didn't he? He provided them a way to guide them along. And next time, now see, they went towards the Red Sea. Now, next week's lesson is going to have to do with the Red Sea.
How are we going to get around that Red Sea?
I know. How are we going to get around that?
Our God is so big, he's going to take care of them.
That is right. That's right. So he's going to take care of it, which makes me think, let's sing our song.
Let's sing
Let's just sing it, okay? Our God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing our God cannot do. Our God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing our God cannot do. The mountains are his, the valleys are his, the stars are his handiwork too. Our God is so big, so strong and so mighty, there's nothing our God cannot do for you.
That's right.
Oh, that's great, because he is so big, and he was so big.
He took care of them, didn't he?
Yes. And while we're at it, how about doing them all wrapped up? How about that?
That sounds good.
That sounds good.
Are you wrapped up?
Y'all get yourselves up and going. And
all right,
let's do it. All right.
I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, I'm all tangled up in Jesus. I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, I'm all tangled up in God. I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, I'm all tangled up in Jesus. I'm all wrapped up, tied up, tangled up in God. Oh
Can we do it really faster?
Oh,
Let's
maybe,
try.
but if I can't keep up with the
Okay.
actions. You kids just go right ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, I'm all tangled up in Jesus. I'm all wrapped up, I'm all tied up, and I'm tangled up in God. I'm all wrapped up, I'm tied up, I'm tangled up in Jesus. I'm all wrapped up, tied up, tangled up in God. Oh yeah.
I told you. I'm not that. I can't do it. Well, boys and girls, we're glad you came tonight.
Yeah.
It's been good.
That's good.
I like talking about Moses, don't you?
Oh, I do too. I do too. But I think we've got time for one more song. Can we do another
think
song?
So?
I
Yes.
think so. Let's do. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Okay.
Let's do
All
that.
right.
One, okay. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got the itty bitty babies in his hands. He's got the itty bitty babies in his hands. He's got the itty bitty babies in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the mamas and the papas in his hands. He's got the mamas and the daddies in his hands. He's got the mamas and the daddies in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the brothers and the sisters in his hands. He's got the brothers and the sisters in his hands. He's got the brothers and the sisters in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
He had all them Israelites in his hands. He took care of them.
Oh,
Yes.
so many of them, wasn't
Yes,
it? So
yes.
how many? There were 600,000 men, and then that didn't even count all the men and women.
That's right.
I mean, the
all
women and the children. I mean, the
plus
women
all
and
their
children.
livestock.
Right, the women and children was added on
So
that.
there is quite a crew leaving Egypt.
I know, and they're going to head towards that Red Sea,
I
so
know.
we'll see what happens there. And Moses, we'll be looking forward to seeing you next week because you have a big job coming up.
Yes.
And we'll tell you guys about that. Moses is, he's going to have a really big job. It's going to look really neat. So
He had a lot of faith, didn't he?
that's right.
Yes.
So
All right, boys and girls, we'll see you on Sunday.
and don't forget to pick up your take-home packet.
Yes,
Okay.
Your packets.
Your packets for your work. So, all right, y'all have a good rest of the week. So we'll see you
Bye-bye.
later. Bye bye.